Welcome to this week's edition of Fun Activities in Five. We are in the library today because we're going to be talking about books. So, this is an activity that I do with my level one, two, and threes after we do an independent reading warm up. So, when we do FVR, free voluntary reading, or SSR, sustained silent reading, it has a lot of names. Basically, students taking a book and reading on their own independently, silently for a set amount of time. I usually give my students about 7 or 8 minutes. Sometimes they request to go a little bit longer. After we read, not every day, maybe once a week, every other week, I go through what I like to call a book review with my students. And I take volunteers first. And after taking volunteers, if nobody volunteers, I'll call on a couple of students. So I'm going to show you the slides that I use and kind of talk to you about what that looks like with my students. So this is the slide that my students would see. They see, disfrutaste de su libro? Did you enjoy your book? And we talk through some things like, what are words that you learned? What does that word mean? This gives me an opportunity to check in with students and see, are they understanding what they're reading? Are they actually reading? Giving them some level of accountability without having to really give them a level of accountability. The second thing that we do, and this is one of my favorite things, and the students really enjoy this piece too, because it allows them to kind of express why they chose the book that they did, and it allows them to compare a little bit to their peers. So, in this first one, if somebody says, I'm reading El Último Viaje, then I might say, oh, is anyone else reading that book? And they might say, oh, I learned this word. Oh, have you learned that word too? Oh, no, I already knew that word. Okay, cool. So it gives them a little comparison on this first one. But the second one is asking what level they think that book is. So is it really easy? Is it really hard? Is it in the middle? And why do they think it's that level? And is that okay? So when I ask them what level do you think it is, I would say most students say in el medio, that it's in the middle. It's not super easy. It's not super hard. And most of them tell me because I like whatever this topic is, but I don't understand all the words. Or they'll tell me it's in the middle because it's a good challenge. And part of the reason that I like this activity and that my students like this activity is it's a great way to preview some books that students haven't read yet. For example, if a student is reading El Condor de los Andes and you've never heard of that book, well, now you get to hear a little bit about why a student likes reading that book and how hard they think that book is. If I know you and I are about on the same level and I see you're reading this book and I'm looking for another book to read, then I know this is a book that I can check out and see if it's something that I want to read. If I see you reading this book and you say it's super easy, and I know that my Spanish is not as good as yours, then I know this is a book that might be attainable for me. So it's a great way for students to kind of have some choice and self-select in what they want to read and preview some new books while giving me an opportunity to check in and hold students accountable for their reading. If you're not doing FVR, I highly recommend that you start. On my blog, I've got a lot of resources about how to get funding for libraries, how to build your library, and how to start an FVR program. For me, it's really important. I think for my students, it's really important too. And if you're looking for accountability, check out this idea. I hope that it gives you a low lift accountability. It's something you don't have to grade. It's something you can do in class. You could check in with every student or just one or two each day and hold students accountable for their reading. Thank you for joining me this week. I hope to see you next time.